Dominicans, Dominicans, we need our electoral reform. Tell Simbad, call the cabinet. Our money can just go to waste like that. Dominicans pay their money. You should perform your duty. How long before we get our reform? We have some elections in the interest of one man. But like Egypt, the people need freedom. If you cannot deliver, then give us back our dollars, sir. Stay in your lane. We know you know our country, love to spend the money, sir. Stay in your lane. The people frustrated and tired. Dominicans have taken all they can take. Give us reform before the fall house break. The people know of Pool was brigade. May 29 and blood that was shed. So if you don't deliver for what we pay, Guy Pool was it. What? Whoa, nana, whoa. Dominicans, woi, Dominicans. We need to fight for what we believe. Enough talking, time for action. We need reform, we need our voters card. The people pressurizing, yes, they're ready for action. How long before we get our reform? If we vote without voters ID, we could vote for a dead family. And before ballot done count, landslide victory. The election legacy concerns everybody, sir. Stay in your lane. We hear you write a report to Annie Valdez, boy. Stay in your lane. The people frustrated and tired. Dominicans have taken all they can take. Give us reform before reform we take. The people know of Pool was brigade. May 29 and blood that was shed. So if you don't deliver for what we pay, I Pool was it. Whoa, nana, whoa. Stop you in your magic, you can't fool everybody, sir. Stay in your lane. We need the registration for free and fair elections, sir. Stay in your lane. The people reject your reports of Byron. Dominicans know the difference between right and wrong. Give us reform before next election.
All right, folks. Yes, that is where I want to say a special greetings and welcome to all of you locked into that space at this time. Welcome to Civic Vibes. This program is aired each and every Sunday from the 6 o'clock hour in Dominica and in our Eastern Caribbean region. And for those of you further afield, whatever is your time zone at this time, welcome on board. It's 6 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock in Dominica, and that is where we want to make a start to another very, very interesting program on a very important topic. So we're going to have a very important discussion, free, fair, and transparent general elections in Dominica that has been eluding us for some time in Dominica. Yes, this afternoon we have a very special invited guest, no stranger to us in Dominica, in the name of Mrs. Rosie Felix. She is here, a very patriotic woman, always on the front line as it pertains to free, fair, and transparent general elections. She'll be hearing much more from her in just a bit. But folks, yes, we are here, and the topic that we're discussing today is the power of free, fair, and transparent general elections in upholding democracy in Dominica. For those of you on YouTube, those of you on Facebook and Twitter, these are our social media handles that we go by each and every Sunday. And so, yes, we welcome you in a very special way as well. Our numbers to call are 245-2396 or 615-9470. That is when we will give you your time so that you can be part and parcel of the program in terms of your comments or question or just your feedback. Without saying much more, let me move across to my brother Alvin Thomas, the host for the program. Alvin, good afternoon to you, my brother. Very welcome to you.
Yes, good afternoon, Lofty. Pleasant good afternoon to you and all our many folks who have already logged in. I can see from the live already who are here with us this afternoon to have a very good conversation, I must say, that we've been having for some time. And of course, to say a special welcome as well to our guest, Sister Rosie Felix. I concur with you, that is a woman of woman, Sister Felix, among the many other women that are doing some of the work on the ground. So it's really a pleasure to have Sister Felix with us this afternoon. And also, as I said, all our many folks who have already logged in. I just want to say in a very special way, happy International Women's Day to Sister Felix and the many women that are logged in with us. As you know, we just celebrated that on Friday. And persons like Sister Felix and the many other women in Dominica that have really stood up for justice, for fair play, and all the things that are required. Just want to say to them, congratulations and hat off to you, many women. That celebrating that they started as way back as 1909, that's 115 years ago. And still, as we speak today in 2024, there's still a number of areas that women are still fighting for. So a pleasure to be here and to engage in the conversation this afternoon on free, fair, and transparent elections.
All right, Alvin, thank you very much, my brother, for your opening salvo, as it were. Always nice to have you on board, Alvin, whenever you're there. Persons look forward to your contribution, indeed. Thank you. Let me move across now to our dear sister, Rosie Felix. No stranger, as I said, to us in Dominica, but Rosie, we know once we are on social media, then there are new persons logging on each and every time. So Rosie, good afternoon to you in a very special way, and just a brief introduction of just who is Rosie Felix before we make that start.
Thank you, Loftus, and thank you, Alvin. It's a pleasure to be back on Civic Vibes again. And it's difficult to say no about, what you're passionate about. And passionate about Dominica and getting things right, in all the ways we possibly can. Of course, as you said, I am Rosie Felix. I'm a nurse midwife. I don't work in the public service anymore. I do private nursing. I am also an entrepreneur, online entrepreneur. I'm an advocate, an encourager. Once I see injustice, I have to put in my mouth, my big mouth. And it doesn't matter where I see it, where I hear it, it just, the Lord put, there's a fire in my heart to speak up against injustice. And many people who I went to school with, they would say, that was not the Rosie they went to school with. But when I invited the Lord in my life and I asked him for the boldness of his Holy Spirit, it's just no turning back. So that's the Rosie Felix you have here.
And that is the Rosie Felix we know, and that's the Rosie Felix we're accustomed to, with that big, broad, 9:15 smile, as I say.
Thank you.
I do. How is Ronnie doing, by the way?
Ron is fine. He's somewhere on a church vibes,
Okay.
but he's busy sharing the life with family and friends. So I know he's listening. So my beloved, thank you for all his support, and he's fully behind me. I know that for sure. And we make a great pair. Glory to God.
Amen, amen. I love that. I love that. I love that, Rosie. I love that. I know exactly how that feels, man. You know, I know exactly how that feels.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Also, yes, just for you. So of course we celebrated International Women's Day on Friday. Of course, the whole movement. In fact, any day we highlight on one day. We know it's just to bring awareness to celebrate and also to bring awareness to issues affecting whatever it is we're celebrating, in this case women. But the movement continues, and I would start off by saying, you know, on I didn't get to Rosie Sparks, we didn't get to put out a statement. We were working on a billboard, and it, you know, to install on that day. It just didn't come, but it will come. But at 8 o'clock on Friday morning, I was in a certain high office advocating to save a woman's life. And mid-morning that same day, I almost lost my life. So I give God thanks for all women and all those who in the advocacy business, all those activists, all those women, you know, fighting for other women, putting their lives at risk for other women. Of course, I commend all those who celebrate women. But two women I missed a lot on International Women's Day. One who is my buddy, my longtime bestie, Yvonne Trotman Bellot from Solomon Lane Goodwill. I want to say special condolences and to the family, especially Solange and Max, who very likely listening to Civic Vibes. But I also missed, and although she was not my buddy at all, just an acquaintance, but I miss Ferdinand Frampton on International Women's Day. I didn't say that to anybody. I'm saying it now for the first time, but I just missed her being alive on Friday.
Wow. And I heard you said that with a level of emotion there. So I know indeed it came from deep.
Yeah. I think that is profound, Sister Rosie, very profound. And she's still very, you know, she's very much in our minds, all of us, both men and women. And I can concur with you. As a matter of fact, if I may just say very quickly, today is the 1-year anniversary since the passing of Alwyn Bully. And today there was a memorial held in his honor and the launching of an Alwyn Bully Foundation. Those listening can go to the Facebook page. You have a Facebook page that speaks to what the foundation is all about and how you can be a part of it. And that, you know, as we know, Alwyn was a stalwart for us. And he has passed. And that is part of it. You know, you have all those persons like Alwyn Bully, Ferdinand, and several others that have gone beyond. And we need to do some things to remember them. We need to. So I'm pleased that, you know, they were able to set up that Alwyn Bully Foundation. And I know for Dinah, there's been discussion to have some things set up to in her name. So like you, I'd want to extend condolences to the Bellots. I know Solange very well. Solange and I were very good friends. Solange and her sister passing, so I want to extend my sympathies. And I think last week, if I may recall, Bosso Vanos John Charles passed too. Another stalwart in the political arena. This was a gentleman who fought tooth and nail during the time of the banana industry. represented the Windward Islands, represented Dominica, East, and several areas as it relates to bananas and agriculture. And as a matter of fact, he was one of the first, among the first senators that were appointed when we became independent. Himself, Curtis Augustus, was one of those among the senators appointed in Parliament. So I'd like to extend condolences to his family and friends on the passing of Brother Vanos John Charles.
All right, Alvin, thank you very much for bringing us back there in terms of some of the treasured persons among us who passed. So, we always take time to recognize those contributions from these persons, yeah? But just before we, again start, the program in earnesty, we have a number of folks logged on already. And so, Alvin, let us just take at least 2-3 minutes to recognize some of those on the live panel by calling them by name. We will not have the time to call everybody, but at least we touch one or two to make them know that we treasure their listening and viewing. Let's go, Alvin.
Certainly, Lofty. I see we have there Milena Watson Duvan.
One of the persons I want to recognize, even before Mrs. Watson and Rosie Felix said it right, Rani Felix. The husband of Rosie, he's there.
Yes,
he's on the road, but his listening is lovely. Rani, special good afternoon to you, my brother.
I saw that, absolutely. And I did send my greetings to him as well. And we have David Joseph, of course, who sends greeting to us. We have Sister Maslin Edwards, one of the stalwart women. Happy International Women's Day to you, my sister. We have Joan Felix Sylvester. We have Karen Joseph. We're saying good evening, Patriots. Of course, Jeffrey Brisbane is always tuned in, and I'm sure he's there with his little drink of water. I'll say that's what he's drinking tonight, water, or maybe coffee. Jeffrey and I go way back, man. My old schoolmate. We went to school together, SME. Rosa Robinson is there. Marina Charles, I see as well. Jane Stephen, Julie Polidor is saying Sunday blessings to everyone. My lovely nurse, good evening. Peter Carbon is there. Rosa Robinson, my good old friend, Dory Drygo, out in North Carolina, my brother. Good evening, good to have you, Dory. Brina Francis is also there. Elaine Laville, Carol Fountain, Ziska Sarah, Simon George, Rosie Nis, Glenda Lavi Dubuton. You know that one, Lofty?
Yes, indeed.
That special name. Is also there. Ivinia Joseph, present teachers, she refers to us as. Bernadette Myler. Who else you see there, Lofty?
We have here Marilyn Pascal, Eliza Louise Gomes, yes, Lydia Francis, Anthony Simon, Mali Yostri, Viva Mamo is in the house, Brother Bernard Aline, Maslin Edwards, you call already, Letitia Mills, Stephanie John Baptist, Brother Angelo Allen. We missed you very much, my brother. One day, someday, we have to hook up on that space, all right? Ferdinand George, you're also there. Good evening to you as well. Brother Margel Durand, you're in the house as well. We also have, we said Maslin Edwards already.
Mavella Defoe is there. Juanita Prince. Dorian.
The folks are just there.
Yeah. Georgette Henry. Verna Vash. So, I mean, the feed is blowing up.
Yeah, it's Verna Vache.
Yeah, Vache, yes.
I was scolded once for not pronouncing that surname right. So I got it right.
I guess she's going to scold me too, but that's okay. I'll take it.
Yeah, Marshall Lawrence, good evening to you. But Alvin, we have to move on. It's 6:20 already. Rosie, time is limited with us.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. All right, folks, again, for those of you just tuning in at this time, we have in our company as our special invited guest this evening, Mrs. Rosie Felix. We're discussing that all-important topic, free, fair, and transparent general elections. For those of you who know Rosie Felix very well, she's a woman, as she said in her preamble opening statement, wherever injustice shows up its head, she will open her mouth. And so she's opening her mouth one more time, at least this afternoon, to speak to that injustice of the lack thereof of free and fair elections in Dominica for some time. And so, Mrs. Felix, just as we open up the conversation this afternoon, in your mind, when you hear that term electoral reform that we need in Dominica so much in order to fix our electoral business in Dominica. What comes to mind? How can you make that electoral reform phrase be much more palatable to the ordinary Dominicans who may be listening and watching now?
Well, Lofty, I really do not know what else I can add to the conversation to justify why we must have, why we're bound to have, why we shall have electoral reform. But what I do know, if we do not have it, we shall be a tormented nation. If we do not have it, we shall be a tormented nation. I hasten to add, however, any lesson not learned need to be taught again and again until it is learned. And hence, I agreed to be back on your program, on your live, talking about electoral reform. We cannot let it go because obviously the lesson has not been learned. So we have to teach it again. We have to deliver it again. And at the top of my mind is if we do not have it, we'll be a tormented nation. And I'm thinking of Haiti as we speak. Haiti is on the mind of everyone. Haiti is in the prayers of everyone. But where we are in Dominica, we need to do more than pray because faith without action, prayer without works is dead.
Indeed, indeed. We have some folks listening in the region as well. Good evening to you, those of you further afield. Lydia Francis says she's listening from St. Lucia at this time, so good evening to you as well. Rosie, the conversation today surrounds free, fair, and transparent general elections as it pertains. That is a key pillar in order that Dominica's democracy be maintained. Somebody on the ground, somebody like you know, marching through Roseau, walking the pavement, as it were, how would you describe Dominica as a country as it relates to the democratic rule or the democratic principles that we're supposed to be, you know, espousing as a country?
Lofty, I looked up again, you know, just to be sure I have it right, the principles of democracy. And I'm going to go through them. And I want the listeners, the viewers, to actually answer that question you've just asked. By ticking off, tick or cross, you know, putting some points at the various, and according to the Civil Liberties Union for Europe, there are 14 principles of democracy. And I really want the listeners to do that, to take a pen or do this mental exercise and put a tick or an X where you can say, yes, we have that in Dominica. And of course, I mean, I already know we already know we are far from many of them, or they're given on we're practicing them on a surface. So those we still have, we are losing those principles. And electoral reform is supposed to help us to regain them. Doesn't mean that if people are determined to be evil, any system, they can, you know, mash up any system. But we claim to be a democratic nation. So let me just go through those principles. And the first one is participation of citizens. In certain ways, we are allowed to participate in processes, and in some others we are not. As it concerns, for example, as it is, the main thing we're speaking about, electoral reform, the fact that elections are rigged and we do not have reform, we are not allowed to participate in our election in a free and fair way. That's the first one. Equality. We know there are gross differences in equality in not only men and women, but the political divide. If you're not red, you're dead. We know there are inequalities in that regard. Accountability of government. We are fighting every day on air and off air, online and online about accountability. People are upset with those of us who demand accountability from government, and they don't have another reason to be mad at us. But speaking about accountability, I want to refer to this aspect, this value in parenting. You hail up my beloved husband, Rani. As parents, we held our children, we hold each other, we still hold each other accountable, and we held as we raise our children. How many parents do not hold their children accountable? And when you don't hold your children accountable, what happens? You send them, and one of the ways we learn that very early is when you send to do an errand. You go to the shop and you expect it to bring back change, and you don't bring back change. What happens? You understand? So we hold our children accountable in the classroom. Teachers, I taught before I went into nursing, I taught for 1 year and 1 term. Before I left the public service, I taught nurses and midwives at the Dominica State College. We hold our students accountable. And when they are not accountable, what we do, we discipline them. In the jobs, the bosses, the supervisors, they hold their staff accountable. What is the problem with us not holding? What is the problem that government does not want to be accountable and that we cannot hold them accountable? The fourth is transparency. Transparency. We know we have a big problem with transparency. You know, today, one of the scriptures that stuck with me today, from the gospel, is that it's about the light, and transparency is about see through. We can see light. If you're in darkness, there's no transparency. And what in John's gospel, the 3rd chapter today, it says, for everyone who does wicked things hates the light and does not come towards the light, so that his works might not be exposed. But whoever lives in the truth comes to the light, so that his works may be clearly seen as done in God. If you don't have nothing to hide, you open. Referring again to parenting, my husband and I, we were very, and are still very transparent with our children. All of them are adults, but they know everything that's going on with us. Nothing to hide. And so transparency is important. People are still talking about the MOU with China, that how many years now? And we don't know what's in there. Why aren't our government being transparency about the things that matter to us? A lack of transparency is a definite problem. Political tolerance is another tenet of another principle of democracy. And more we see we are losing this a lot. So it's about, yes, you have one party in power, and you may have one or more parties in opposition, whether formal or non-formal opposition. And we are seeing more and more the party in power is just not tolerating the parties in opposition, the parties who are not in government. As a matter of fact, we heard one time our prime minister said there's no need for accountable. You want me to be transparent. You want me to allow you all to participate. I won't have that. There's no need for you all. There is the multi-party system. Of course, so far we have that. But again, going to the point I just made, where the party in power is saying, we don't need you all. So it's saying we multi-party system, which we have now, what we are hearing from the party in power is that this is not welcome. You all are not welcome. We just need one party state. Let us do what we want, how we want, when we want. We'll tell you what we want, and we'll be only accountable in where it doesn't matter. But where it matters, we hold that to our chest. Control over the abuse of power. Well, we can see that. Every blind man can see there's abuse of power, but because of spiritual blindness and all the bribery that has taken place, people are embracing it. The more the party in power abuse the power, it seems the more satisfaction it gives to them and their supporters. Freedom of economy. Well, we know where our economy is at now. We don't have freedom of economy. There's talk. There's talk about freedom of the economy. But the war, the psychological war that has been launched on Dominica, part of the ammunition is to cripple the economy, to burn down the economy, to burn down jobs, to make people dependent on them, to create beggars. And so sometimes we hear of, okay, we're creating jobs, we creating the environment, but it's not sustainable. We just do it for fanfare, but after a while we hear this very jobs go down the drain so that people can go back and beg. And then Bill of Rights, of course, we have our Constitution, which speaks to the Bill of Rights and human rights, but in subtle ways, those are being violated. In many subtle ways and in very open ways as well, our rights are being violated. Then the 11th principle is free and fair elections, and that's why we're here tonight. Free and fair elections. We are far from that, and electoral reform is meant to take us back. And why, if we are talking a nation of people who are God-fearing, why don't we want things that are free and fair? We want free at school. If our children at school they're being if they cheat, what happens? They're disqualified. If they cheat in an exam, they're being disqualified. At financial institutions or any institutions, when workers cheat, they steal money on the job, they get disciplined, they get fired. In associations, I have been ever since I became a professional nurse, I've been part of my professional association, and I can tell you, we have free and fair elections, and people get I'm also part of regional associate nurses organization. In all organizations I am, where elections is part of, you know, the process for electing leaders. People are passionate about the process being free and fair, but why don't we want it in electing leaders for our country? We need electoral reform, and free and fair elections will allow us to have all these other principles. We will take these principles to a higher level. And just two more, Lofty, free courts. I won't go in details for that. Free courts, we're talking about justice in the courts, and the courts opening its doors to all of us, irrespective of what part of society we come from. Accepting election results. Accepting election results when election is free and fair. We cannot accept election results if the election has been rigged. And of course, the 14th is rule of law. We hear people in leadership speak about the rule of law, but the very next minute it's violated. So those are the principles of democracy. And I wish the followers, the listeners would put over, basically like a teacher, you mark over 14, grade our society. Where are we at when it comes to our principles of observing our principles of democracy, of violating them as it were?
Wow, that is indeed a mouthful, Rosie, so that the listeners out there, viewers out there can digest. But thank you very much indeed for laying down some of the key principles as it pertains to the topic under the microscope tonight. Alvin, you have been listening patiently. Your take.
I'm wondering if I can add any more to that, with that stellar presentation from Sister Rosie. What can I add? However, though, let me just say, though, it is a real travesty that after 24 years this year, we are still here having that conversation on free, fair, transparent elections and electoral reform. Lofty, that's almost a quarter century, That's a long time.
Yep.
24 years. This year we're talking about that. And there's this resistance. I don't know if how many of you who are on the live field who have seen or came across Antigua, which you're very familiar with, Lofty. Antigua is just going to undertake their second round of registration of new electors. And that is within the last one, I think, was done in 2015 or 14. Correct me, Lofty, if I'm wrong.
About 14.
Yes. And they're now going to undertake that in Antigua. And we have a situation here in Dominica where we are still having that conversation. And I think the worst part of all of this, though, is that when you talk about, for example, the electors list, which is a central aspect of an election, that thing they call the registry or the list. That's like the blood through that running through that list. And under our existing legislation now as we speak, that area can be looked at. We don't need reform for that. Yes, there can be room to improve. But what I'm saying is that under our existing legislation, the electors list and the registry can be addressed, whereby we ensure that persons' names who are qualified to vote are on the list. And as such, when an election is called, you would have a free, fair, and transparent election because you would have people who are qualified to vote voting. And not even that is being done. So I guess the million-dollar question really is, yes, we should continue to discuss it. I don't think it's a conversation that needs or will go away unless we get something done. But then what do we do? The action partner, what do we do? And like many persons have said before, including myself, I think if you don't take it or fight for it, you will not get it, period. And at this point, it does not appear that this current administration is going to give it to you voluntarily or willingly. We have to put up a fight for it. And that fight has to come from all angles. So I guess one of the questions, which I'm sure one of the conversation we'll have this evening, I'm sure Sister Rosie would lend to that. And let me just compliment her as well while she's there for the work that she's doing as a Rosa Parks group of women. And I know sometimes, Sister Rosie, you might find it lonesome, but you are doing what you're called to do. And I want to congratulate you and the many other women that joined the forces with you, and the men as well, because I know there are a couple men that join you to continue that fight. But we have to fight for it, Lofty. And that's what I would say at this stage. And finally, let me just say, some people might say, oh man, you guys talk about this electoral reform. That is boring. We just talk. Government affects every aspect of people's lives. And election is the reason why we have election is to elect a government to represent us. And what we eat, what school we go to, what education we get, what health services, what tax we pay, the whole gamut of things is affected by a government. So if the wrong government gets into office by cheating, by unfair elections, then it's going to have consequences for us. And I think the two persons on the commission, in the persons of Brother Hillary Shillingford and Wayne James, are out there advocating as powerfully as they can on our behalf. We must join them, we must join their voices, and we must take action.
Yes, indeed. Alvin, thank you as well. Alvin, I'm a very straight shooter, especially when it comes to my country, the topic under the microscope tonight. And it would be remiss of me. We would not have been doing justice to the conversation tonight if we did not call out, and I say call out, some people by name tonight, especially some of these people who have direct responsibility or direct roles to bring about that free, fair, and transparent process as it pertains to our elections in Dominica. And I would really want to call out tonight Mr. Duncan Stowe, a lawyer by profession, a calypso commentator as well, amidst other stuff that this guy does. Duncan Stowe picked up the chairmanship of that electoral commission some time back. And I remember him vividly, quite vividly saying it was an honor to pick up that position. And it's just a matter of him getting his feet wet. And he will do what he has to do to serve the people of Dominica to the best of his ability. Words to that effect. And it has been couple time now. Mr. Duncan Stowe, to me, I am saying, have not been true to those words. He has basically abdicated his responsibility in that regard. And so, Mr. Duncan Stowe, you as the chairman of the Electoral Commission, you must get up from your laurel and do the work of the people that you promised to do on our behalf. It cannot be you sit there and see all these things going on, shenanigans after shenanigans. If you were not up to doing that task on behalf of the people, then you should not have picked up that position in the first place. You are there now. If you're not willing to do it, then just step away and let somebody that have much more guts, more gumption towards the task ahead or at hand deliver on the Dominicans' behalf. So Mr. Duncan Stowe, for sure, he must be called out. He must be singled out alongside the other commissioners, especially the Lawrences, Lennox and Alec. These guys are basically there, and I'm being told, stalling the process, not having the process flow. They are like they're like blocking that plumbing system so that the freeness and fairness that we're talking about in our electoral machinery cannot move forward. And so of all persons, Duncan still have the quote-unquote veto power, as it were. He have the last vote to either make or break our electoral system in Dominica. And so it's on that note, we need to call him out, flush him out from wherever he is. Let the world know that lawyer Duncan Stowe has not been up to scratch where his responsibility is concerned, and he's getting remunerated from the taxpayers of the country for doing nothing. So that is Duncan Stowe. Roosevelt Skerritt himself, the man who sits in the chair of this prime ministership, he too needs to be called out, because time without number, time and time again, this brother have been saying to the Dominican public in more ways than one, he will do what it takes as prime minister to facilitate the Electoral Commission and office to get these things off the table so that they talk and talk and talk and talk. Like discussions like tonight will be no more. The latest we heard is after the sham election he called in 2022, when he basically short-circuited or boycotted the process, where he gave Sir Dennis Byron to come up with reports and recommendations as to how to fix our process in Dominica. And it was in very poor taste that this guy turned around after having paid a man pretty close to $1 million EC dollars to do work on our behalf, to fix it. And in the heat of things, he turned on the guy like a snake that eats their young when they are hungry, and called a snap election and short-circuited the process and had the unmitigated gall after stealing an election in big broad daylight by short-circuiting the process. Come and tell us again, the first quarter after that election of the preceding year, we are right there already. March of 24, we would have seen some kind of movement in that regard. We are what, today is the 10th of March. And so March is slowly but surely coming and going, and absolutely nothing in that regard. And so again, in any democratic country, like I want to believe we still are as a people, the people in Dominica must not just speak like we're doing tonight, but must act in that regard. And so sometimes I am very passionate. It gets me to a level of being infuriated with the system that we're operating under 40 years plus that needs fixing. When I call people in the region and I ask them about the electoral system, and I mention to them that our list, the holy grail, as it were, of the process is bloated. We have much more people who are eligible to vote than those as our population. And this person's telling me, Lofty, you guys are mad in Dominica. What is happening? Why is it that your list, your voters list, is more than your population? They tell me that is mathematical madness. And so the conversation sometimes just have to stop there. And it is just so painful sometimes to try to comprehend what is going on in Dominica. But we have to keep at it. We have to persevere. We have to be resolute. 20 men in government or 20 people in government cannot be more than 50, 60,000 people or 30, 40,000 people who need that process to be cleaned up. And so it's on that vein, I am saying we need to continue to press the point, to push. Because if we don't do that, according to Rosie said a while ago when she spoke, we may not have a Dominica that is democratic in nature. And that is my fear. And so our children that are living now and those to come will not hold us in high regard as it pertains to some of us passiveness, as it pertains to leaving for them a country that they can say, yes, my dad fought for me to be enjoying a Dominica. My auntie fought, Rosie Felix fought, Alvin fought, the people fought. And so we can enjoy a Dominica today from them, handed to us, that we can thrive and not leave them a country like King Jong-un country and Mr. Putin's Russia. I rest.
Well, Lofty, I certainly share your, how should I describe it? I wouldn't even say it's concerns, it's more than concern. Your frustration, I certainly share that. And somebody on the field said they're too comfortable, that's why they're doing nothing as usual, meaning that the government. And I believe, though, that if this quarter is allowed to go, meaning that March is soon coming to an end, I think the Dominican people have to start to take some action. And if it means starting to picket, set up a picketing outside the electoral commission's office. I mean, I'm just throwing that out in my head now. Because I'll tell you one thing, if the government, not if, But the fact that the government has failed to honor its responsibility under the Constitution and has not been fair play with the citizens of Dominica, the citizens have a right to protest. There's no ifs and buts about it, you know. They have a right to protest. Because government hasn't held their fair share, their side of the bargain. They've been irresponsible, they've been unlawful, they've been not transparent. The citizens have a right to protest. And we need to start, and I agree with you, calling out the names like the chairman, Duncan Stowe. We have to start picketing those people outside their offices, outside their homes, or wherever it is. Picket it, start with that. Let me tell you, Lofty, I'm here in Atlanta, and on the news last week, there is a building that's going down downtown Atlanta, and the community, some of the residents feel it's not in their best interest and what all of that. You know what some of the protesters did? They went there and they chained themselves to the building, to the cranes and everything. Actually chained themselves. They had to come and cut the chains of the people. That's the extent to how people feel about certain things that they feel strongly about. And this is our election. So I hear my good friend Matt Peltier plays that Martin Luther's speech and all of that sometimes on his program. Guys, understand it. We in the protests, some going to get arrested, some going to get maybe whatever tear gas, some may get whatever it is. That is part of the territory. I'm telling you. So we have to understand that. We have to erase some of that fear. And like I said, we have to start to take some serious action by start picketing outside every day, the electoral office. Stay there until the messages drive home and some action is taken. So in addition to the talking, yes, we'll do all of the talking. But as I understand it, they're having a meeting on I heard Hillary and Wynne say they're having a meeting coming up on the 17th for some date. I don't remember. Maybe
that meeting most likely should be on a Thursday, the 21st of this month.
Right. The 21st of this month, there's going to be a meeting of the commission, I understand. Dominica should arrange for a picketing outside the electoral office on that day, on that 21st. Every Dominican should come out in full force in front of the electoral commission's office and demand their reform on that day. And if it means heckling those who are supposed to do it, heckle them and demand their reform. So we should not allow them to just go ahead and have that meeting, business as usual. No. We should arrive there bright and early, that 21st, with our placard, with our picketing, with our bullhorn, and calling for reform on the 21st. Because as I understand it, this is the first meeting they're having for the year. What a travesty. We're in March. And this is the first meeting. We should be out there in numbers.
Yes, Alvin, thank you very much for your very passionate contribution as well. Folks, it is 5 minutes to the hour of 7 o'clock. In 5 minutes, we're going to take that all-important midway break. But Rosie, you have been listening, sitting there. Anything else you want to add to the conversation, Rosie, before we take that break in the next 5 minutes?
Yeah. Actually, in my notes in preparing for the program, I made a note of another reason, if that is a new reason at all for electoral reform. If the people we appoint, we elevate to serve on the electoral commission cannot serve the people, that is more reason for reform. In the law should have something to say. If the people, if they are not serving the people's needs, they should not be there. They should be taken off. And I agree that we should name them. It's public business. Duncan Stowe, as the chairman, has not lifted a finger to the cause. There are 5 people on the commission, right? And 3 of them are attorneys, Mr. Lennox Lawrence, Mr. Alec Lawrence, and Mr. Duncan Stowe. See, all attorneys, such we hold We hold attorneys in such high regards, and we should, because that's a high-level professional job. People that ought to bring us justice in our personal issues that we go to the court, and the national issue in this case. If they're not standing for Dominica, if they choose Roosevelt Skerritt's legacy over Dominica, they should step down, and I'm inviting them to step down. Mr. Duncan Stowe, step down. Mr. Alec Lawrence, step down. You guys are shaming your profession as attorneys. Can you imagine, y'all, as a nurse, if I'm placed on some national committee? So, for example, in nursing, we have the Nurses Council, General Nursing Council, that is supposed to attend to matters to ensure the public are safe when they receive care from nurses. So licensing is one of those things, all right? Can you imagine if I'm on the General Nursing Council of Dominica and I'm not lifting a finger to make nursing safe for the public? What, that would be a shame. I would be ashamed of myself if I were to be on any committee and I'm taking decisions or doing nothing to elevate the plight of the people for the reason I was placed on the committee. It's really a shame. And these gentlemen, at this point, they should step down. And I would think they all know me. I know all of them. They should step down. They've not lifted a finger to help electorally from 20 years. Whatever remuneration they may be receiving, I'm sure it's pittance. But the point is, they are not doing anything, guys. Y'all just step down. Just step down. I am Rosie Felix. I no bones about that. Mr. Lennox Lawrence, Mr. Alec Lawrence, Mr. Duncan Stowe, all you, do us a favor. Just step down. Just step down and let's get new people to do the job. I don't believe the electoral, the government has its part, the prime minister has its part. They have to provide the finance. They have to take the laws to parliament and so on and so on. But with our participation, and asking you, the question was what more? We need to see whatever draft they're going to take to parliament, because they said the government said in the third quarter, all right, to in the third month of the first quarter. So we don't know. They might just announce they're going to parliament this Thursday or next Thursday. But we need to see that document that's going to parliament before they take it to parliament. We need to see it, and we need to act. Yes, I like the idea. We should go to visit we should go outside the electoral office and let them know, hey, we are there. We are there. I commend Hillary and Wayne. We've been hearing from them even when the commission is not meeting. Yes, they announced a meeting is coming up, but we need to see that document. We have to veto. We talk about public participation. There was some consultancy the other day that wasn't full public participation, and there were a lot of restrictions. We need to see that document, and all of us need to agree on that document, not just to suit our needs, but as per international and regional standards.
Yes, indeed. Folks, it is 7 o'clock on the money. Thank you very much, Sister Rosie Felix, for your contributions there. So far, so good in terms of participation as well of those of you online. What we're going to do now, folks, we're going to take an all-important break, play an ad twice of Dr. Dale Danglebed and crew. He has an ad there with us entitled Eat for Life. You know, Dr. Dale is a doctor, medical doctor, and he always pushes, good health in terms of eating habits, all right? We are also going to, folks, the lines are not open yet. Please, when I open those lines, then you will send in your telephone calls, all right? You'll be sending your telephone call. A line knows just ringing there. So we're going to take that all-important break now, and then we're going to play that all-important song soon after the break from Brother Abel Checo John Baptist entitled Electoral Reform. After that, folks, we're going to take some of your calls and read some of your messages. Let's take that break now in terms of viewing of that ad. Yes, Dominicans, we're back. This is a number from Mr. Abel Checo John Baptist entitled Electoral Reform. We want it now.
Dominicans, we need our electoral reform. Tell Simba, call the cabinet. Our money can just go to waste like that. Dominicans pay their money. You should perform your duty. How long before we get our reform?
Folks, the numbers to call after the break in just a while, 245-2396 or 615-9470. Those numbers are on your screen. So in the next 5-10 minutes, we'll open up those lines.
If you cannot deliver, then give us back our dollars, sir. Stay in your lane. We know you know our country, love to spend the money, sir. Stay in your lane. The people frustrated and tired. Dominicans have taken all they can take. Give us reform before the fall house break. The people know a full was brigade. May 29 and blood that was shed. So if you don't deliver for what we pay, Guy Pool Croisé.
All those over in the live feed at this time, thank you for your eyes and ears each and every time. One more verse and we get back to the live panel.
Dominicans, we need to fight for what we believe. Enough talking, time for action. We need reform, we need our voters' card. The people pressurizing, yes, they're ready for action. How long before we get our reform? If we vote without voters' ID, we could vote for a dead family. And before ballot don't count, landslide victory. The election legacy concerns everybody, sir. Stay in your lane. We hear you write a report to Annie Valdez, boy. Stay in your lane. The people frustrated and tired. Dominicans have taken all they can take. Give us reform before reform we take. The people of Woolworths Brigade. May 29 and blood that was shed. So if you don't deliver for what we pay, Guy Woolworths.
Yes, Dominica, indeed. Abel Cheku John Baptist singing Give Us Our Electoral Reform. Thank you, Cheku. We'll play that song at the end of the program, but let's get back to the live feed at this time. A number of telephone calls were coming in, so folks, now is your time. The lines are open 245-2396 or 615-9470. These are the lines to call in here to get your voice in on the program. But in between time, we're going to get back to Rosie in terms of her comments, or Alvin, any one of you guys who have a comment to make while we wait on some calls.
Yeah, let me just say very quickly while we wait on the calls. I understand that the ERC is having a meeting in Grand Bay on the 17th of March, as I understand it. The Electoral Reform Coalition. On the 17th of March, you'll be in Grand Bay and done in honor of Pierre Charles and several other persons. And all of these organizations are going to be there. That's the 17th. On the 21st of March, as I said, and you corrected me, the Electoral Commission is having their meeting. I'm saying from the 17th at Grand Bay, we need to culminate in Roseau and be part of that 21st meeting outside. This is our meeting. They're there representing us, and we need to go there in droves to give support to Hillary and win. And be out there for that meeting. And after the meeting, of course, I'm sure we'll get an update from Hillary and Wayne. They are there representing us, the people. So now is an opportune time for us to take some action. And let me say also, as it relates to the Electoral Commission and the laws, based on what Sister Rosie said earlier, Section 51 of the Constitution, Section 51 reads, every proposed bill and every proposed regulation or other instrument having the force of law relating to the registration of electors for the purpose of electing representatives or to the election of representatives and senators shall be referred to the Electoral Commission and the Chief Election Officer at such times as shall give them sufficient opportunity to make comments thereon before the bill is introduced in the House, or as the case may be, the regulation or other instrument is made. So they can't go to Parliament before it goes to the Commission. And the Commission has to have sufficient opportunity to make comments on it. And then it goes to Parliament. So all the more reason we have to be part of that meeting on the 21st and be out there to understand, first of all, is that a draft that you guys are discussing? And how much time are you going to be discussing this draft? And what is in this draft before it goes to Parliament? So I'm saying all of this to say, now is the time for action. We've talked, we can continue to talk, but we have to take some action. And the fact that this meeting is taking place is an opportune time for us to take some action.
I agree.
Yes,
I agree. That's a brilliant idea. From Grand Bay. Yes, we are going to Grand Bay on the 17th. That's next Sunday. And so if that meeting of the Electoral Commission is confirmed for the 21st, we should gather in the vicinity of the Electoral Commission office and give our support to Hillary and win. After all, these are the two we've been hearing from ever since they've been on the commission. We don't hear from the others. They're doing nothing. So we may as well come out on the 21st and gather around there, give Hillary and win our support, and most likely they will give us immediate feedback coming from that meeting. Let's see if they have that report. What is it? Do they have a draft? Yes. Dominicans, we need, and it's action. It's only action that's going to, and I mean, the talking is educating people. It's bringing awareness. That's important. So when people say stop, too much talk, I don't think the talk can be too much. It's the action that is not enough. So we need to come out in Roseau, in the vicinity of the electoral office, as long as we confirm that that meeting is taking place on the 21st. Of course, the police will come out with the barricades, just that they barricading the wrong people, but we need to come out.
Absolutely.
Yes, indeed. We need to come out indeed. Folks, it is 11 minutes past 7 o'clock. Now is your time to call. Rosie Felix have at least another half an hour with us. So please make good use of that half an hour that she has left with us. So the numbers to call into the program, they are 245-2396 or 615-9470. Whilst we wait on those calls, those all important calls of you guys, Alvin, anything you've seen from the live feed in the interim?
Yes, there's quite a bit going on there. I see Ferdinand Lawrence says an unjust law is no law at all, and unjust government is no government at all, which means I have the right, even a duty to resist or even civil disobedience. So they're saying they have a right to civil disobedience, which is true. If the government is not in your best interest, you have a right to resist. Dorival say we the people need to act and act fast. And I agree with that as well entirely. David Joseph is saying Mr. Wayne James and Mr. Hillary Schillingford have been fighting for and educating the people of Dominica, but the people of Dominica continues to remain in their self-imposed coma. So now is the time to show that your support for Wayne James and Hillary, and the way you can do that is by going out there in droves and saying, hey, we are with you. You are at this meeting today, this is our meeting, you are there representing us, and we are there to show solidarity in what's taking place.
All right, I think we have a caller on the line. Let's see if we can hook up that caller. Caller, good evening to you. Civic Vibes, you're on.
Hi, Lofty. Good evening. Good evening, Alvin. Good evening, Nurse Rosie, and good evening to your viewers.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes,
Hi,
yes,
good evening.
yes.
Good evening.
Yes, electoral reform. Yes, a topic. I seem to be getting a feedback.
Yes, we are hearing you loud and clear. I don't know where the feedback is coming. I'm not hearing any reverb. But go ahead. You're on.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. I was saying electoral topic, such an important topic for every single Dominican. And I have to agree with Alvin and Nurse Felix. I watched the State of the Union address on Thursday night by the President of the United States. And there were people picketing outside of the White House, people who were calling for a ceasefire in Palestine. No matter where, I have seen people who have that particular passion for that topic. They've been picketing outside of governors' offices, outside, everywhere, Lofty, everywhere. And so, yes, it is time. The talk, well, we have to talk to inspire, but we need action. And it's a thing we've been saying for the longest while. We're getting this close to getting this electoral reform thing happen. What happened 2 weeks ago is there were so many Dominicans who came out. More Dominicans need to do that. There is strength in numbers. And so people have to take action. Action. Yes, the talk has to continue, but we can't just talk. And like Alvin said, sometimes, nobody's calling for violence. Nobody's calling for things to get rowdy. But in the process of a struggle, those things will happen. Sometimes they come spontaneously, they come naturally. Going there with the intention of causing any kind of mischief. But people have to defend themselves too. People have to stand up for what they believe in, Lofty. I don't know if I got a picture today, and I saw some police officers in plain clothes with big guns standing up against the people of Calibishi. I just got some video saying Calibishi people are now saying, yes, what the opposition used to say in the past is true. Every single Dominican is affected by what is happening. I used to say one thing over and over: Laborites are not special. Laborites are Dominicans. And the only reason these people think that they wanted to make Laborites think that they were special was because of one thing only: their vote. And once they got that vote, that was it. Now everybody's on the same playing field. So everybody has to come out and stand up.
Yes, caller, are you there still?
I am there. I am there.
Okay, yes. I think we lost you.
Oh, okay. No, I'm there. No, but that's what I wanted to share, Lofty, that people have to just we have to make up our minds that this is something that we have to do. We have to make the sacrifice for, and we have to be prepared to do what it takes to see that this electoral reform passes and our democracy is returned to us, Lofty. Thank you so much.
All right.
Have a good evening. I don't know if I'll call back.
Yes, well put. Thank you very much. I recognize that caller, Miss Adelaide Paul, always a constant listener of Civic Vibes. I think we have another caller on the other line. Let's see if we can entertain that other caller. Caller, good evening. Civic Vibes, you're on. Caller, hold on a while. Let me just see if I can make a magic here. Hold on. Yes, go right on, caller. Are you there?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
I'm not hearing any response.
We are hearing you loud and clear. Go right on. We are hearing you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Rosie, good afternoon. And, nice, respect. Happy to hear you. But Sister Rosie, I want to talk to you in a sort of manner as if you are the collective in terms of this thing. I want to talk to you. You see, Sister Rosie, for a whole number of years now, what are we, a decade? Plus, I mean, we have been having this kind of thing of expecting off, expecting from, consistently expecting off, expecting from. Sister Rosie, mentally, we have to transform from that posture. Mentally, on a consistent basis. Mentally, let's just give up on the government on electoral reform. Let us make electoral reform our responsibility, not Roosevelt's Kerry's responsibility. We have to go from mental transformation. We spend the whole about 10 plus years talking about Roosevelt. We have to get out of that construct. And we have to start talking about our solutions on how we can make those solutions happen and what is in the road. Not in an accordance of working with Roosevelt Skerrit, in an understanding that Roosevelt Skerrit will not do what is needed for a democratic Dominica, because a democratic Dominica is not in Roosevelt Skerrit's strength, especially given his dismal performance in these last set of times, no matter how much big buildings he builds in Dominica. You understand? So the part of the problem is to keep expecting the solution from the government. We have to stop expecting solutions from Roosevelt Skerrit.
Caller, can I just interject 1 minute there, please?
Yeah, brother.
Yeah, I heard you said that the people are expecting the solution from the government. That may not necessarily be true, because at least for tonight, we have not exposed tonight the solution coming from the government's end. Though you may be half right in what you're saying where the general population is concerned, but you heard me for sure call out the Electoral Commission tonight and Duncan's too clearly and loudly. These are the people that the pressure must be applied on in order that they do or get out of the way. So bringing the government and Roosevelt in the picture, that may not necessarily be accurate as gospel.
Well, Lofty, them man is Roosevelt and the government. So it's just a mosaic, you know.
So what are you subscribing to? We do now. Well, what are you subscribing to?
Well, it's not me that's subscribing it too. That's what I'm trying to say. If you guys are in a mental understanding of what you're about, nobody has to subscribe it to you all.
So what are you suggesting we shift mentally to do? That is what I want to extract from you.
Well, here's why the mental shift is critical, Lofty. I'll tell you why the mental shift is critical. The mental shift is critical because if the mentality shifts, then it wouldn't just one event or one off, or when Matt moves to a next topic, we move to a next topic, and we don't have a next thing happen and the next thing. If we move from the expecting off and waiting on, we will start doing the thing a little differently. Like we hardly stick with a cause. This movement has hardly, in as much as the cause continues, but the cause only gets re-amplification when Roosevelt Kerry says something about the cause consistently. And I am one who I try to take analysis before I speak on most things as best as I can. And it is troubling when you see those patterns. It's troubling. So I'm saying that mental transformation has to take place. We take responsibility. You understand? It's a whole different relationship when you take responsibility. It's a different relationship. It's a different reaction. It's a different process. It's a different strategy. It's a whole other level when you take responsibility.
All right, caller. Thank you.
You know, one love, brother.
Yeah, thank you for your point made. We take that point, but I still want to extract from you, brother Zed Lloyd. I can call your name.
Yes.
Exactly what you wanted us to do in terms of that mental shift or that mental transition that you spoke of. Yes,
Lofty,
yes, Rosie.
I think I understand him in the sense that, you know, the people, you know, we have to make it happen. It doesn't mean that the government doesn't have a part to play, because we cannot literally put ourselves in the offices, in the parliament and do it. But our minds have to shift it when it is us to take the actions. It is us to come out and bear that pressure to make it happen. When I say we have to take it, it is true we cannot go in the parliament.
Rosie, let me ask you, if this government, Rosie, consciously was not a rogue government in nature and in deed, don't you think that mental transition that our last caller spoke of, that have been displayed time and time over, and something would happen already?
We would have had electoral reform already, I agree. So the fact that they are rogue and wicked and evil and do not want to do the right thing that will cause them to lose their stealing legacy, then we have to be more aggressive. We have to take it, non-violent, but we have to come out there in the thousands, hundreds, not enough. We should flood Roseau.
I agree. So that is the mental shift that our caller spoke about. Is we have to basically do what needs to be done, as Malcolm X said, by any means necessary.
Yes, like the buck stops with us.
Indeed. Yes. Callers, yes, that is your time still, 7:24. Rosie, you have like 20 more minutes with us. So we just want to, get you involved in terms of the conversation. So we are leaving those lines wide open for you guys. Alvin, you are there listening like a little church boy, taking in the sermon, as it were.
Well, I mean, there's not much more that.
All right. Hold on, Alvin. There's another call on the line. Let's see if we can entertain that caller. Caller, yes, good evening to you. Civic Vibes.
Good night, Lofty.
Yes, good evening, sir.
Yes, let me say this. I have seen 4 massive gatherings in town. And after this gathering, I was believing that we would have a demonstration. And nothing happened. Okay, so this rogue fella, this rogue guy says, it's only talk we can talk. But it's time we show him that we must stop talking. We will stop talking and then put ourselves at work. Yeah, if we don't put ourselves at work, we will not get anything from this rogue fella. No. Because he wicked, he evil, and he played a lot of evil. Maybe he's upside down in hell already. Thank you very much. Good night, Lofty.
All right, my brother. Good night. Thank you. One of my favorite patriots on the front line just called a while ago from the West Coast area. I'll not narrow down the village due to, victimization. But thank you very much, my brother. Yes.
Well, Lofty, I'm not sure if you've seen it yet, but I listened to another video that was circulating sometime today. I think it was launched like a little over 15 hours ago on Emo Live. with the treasurer of the Truckers Association. Not sure what the guy name is, but was lamenting the fact that the truckers and heavy equipment people are not be able to get work or nothing. And he was so eloquent and profound.
His name is Mr. Everson McGlaw.
Very eloquent and profound in
the
what he was
treasurer of the
saying.
Truckers Association.
Right. And I listened to it. And the point is that election have consequences. Because if you elect the wrong people and they don't have your best interests at heart, then they're not going to do the stuff for you. So you as a trucker can get a living, can get work and do things to your family. So that's why I'm saying, Lofty, sometimes things happen for a reason. We have an opportunity to act. I'm hoping that on the 17th of this month, when the ERC is having this meeting in Grand Bay, that everybody will converge on Grand Bay. Go to Grand Bay and support the ERC on the ground and be part of it. Everybody who is listening, who can encourage another person, go to Grand Bay. And then on the 21st, when the commission is meeting, the commission is doing your work, you know, you the people work, you the people. Is the commission is a creature of the Constitution. The Constitution started by we the people. So you are meeting to do our work, we'll be there too on the 21st while you're doing our work. And we want to know what you're doing on that day. And when Mr. Chairman will be walking in, we'll say, Mr. Chairman, and so we need to hear from you, Mr. Commissioner. And we should be there and take that action. That's what I'm saying. Here's an opportunity to take action. Don't get intimidated by all what's going to come out and what if and what not. Be there, be present, and take some action. And if it means follow through on the action.
Yeah, a matter of fact, just to announce here, Civic Vibes, most likely, there's a 99% chance that we will be in Grand Bay next Sunday. So the Civic Vibes program that you're tuned into now, we'll be bringing that live to you from Grand Bay.
And the truckers should support them on the.
We will be carrying it live. We'll be carrying the action live. Yeah, we'll be carrying the action live on our Facebook page. That is a Civic Vibes Facebook page. So all of you, those of you, especially those of you out of state, persons in Dominica, you cannot stay home. You should not stay home and watch it live. No, you
absolutely
need to be there.
Be there. Go to Grand Bay.
All roads lead to Grand Bay on Sunday next week.
All roads lead to Grand Bay. Flood Grand Bay on that Sunday. And then on Tuesday, on the 21st, flood Roseau outside the electoral office.
Yes, Rosie, we don't have much more time with you, so let us hear some more comments.
Yeah, let me comment. Yes. The very first caller, she said something to the effect that people, labor rights were made to feel special, but as soon as they gave their vote, they were not special anymore. And I like that point. And it pertains to all citizens. We're not special because we have a sacred vote. We are special because because God made us, period. However, our vote is very valuable. And we should not just give it because that party appears to be winning, or our father from that party, our uncle, our auntie, and so on and so on. And even after giving that vote, we should hold the people whom we've given that vote, we should hold them to accountability. And at this point, we want electoral reform, and they're not giving it. So we have to take it. And nobody who've given or not given a vote is exempted. No community is exempted from the effects of a lack of electoral reform. And as you mentioned, Grand Bay, look at Grand Bay that has given their votes to the ruling party for ever. What's happening in Grand Bay? Portsmouth, you know? So people, again, that's where the mind shift. I like it, the paradigm shift. People have to change it. It's not about you that I'm giving my vote. It's about me and what's it for my community, not me just personally, but the country. Mad Dominic is at stake there. It's funny how persons who are fighting for electoral reform, for democracy and these things,
we get in the worst end of the stick than the people who say, oh, they're not patriots. They and they call us all kind of even names. So I want to say, yes, we need the mind shift there. It's for Dominica, we are doing this, and we need to take it. The buck stops with us. And yes, following, we should flood Grand Bay on the 17th, and then come back and flood Roseau. The whole of Roseau. Of course, they'll put their barricades, but we should have a mass demonstration in the city on the 21st. Let them put their barricades. That's what's the best, the experts in that.
Yes, Alvin, I need you to respond to a comment here. Mary Lorio, right here. The mindset of the people must change first for the change to happen. Your comment.
Well, that is true. But at the end of the day, Lofty, if it means starting with 1, 2, 3, 4 and grow, that's what we have to do. If we just sit and say the mindset of the people, what do you mean by the people? A bushfire starts with the first match, you know. So that's why I always use this analogy. As someone who grew up in the 70s and was part of the rebels of that time, the 70s and the 80s, when the Public Service Union had a lot of people talk about that 47-day strike, they just talk about it. It didn't start off at 47 days, you know. It started off on day 1. And if when on day 1, when we had gone to the parish hall, we saw 10 people there and say, you know what, guys, so I need 10 people that there, keep them all in my back view. And they came back on day 2, and they may have had 100 people. Say, bon Dieu, only 100 people that there. Where them others now? Where them now? And we came back on day 3, and the rest is history. Now, how many days we stayed out there? 47 days. Noah stayed how many days in the Ark? 40? We stayed 47. We stayed 7 days more than Noah.
You had a Noah, but this time was with fire and tear gas in Roseau, Alvin. Bullets in Roseau.
Exactly. So,
but the repetition is important. So that's what we're doing. So eventually it will get.
So that's what I'm saying. It has to start with the first point of action. And yes, the mindset has to change. But there's some brave souls. I mean, a lot of us quote from Martin Luther King and use Martin Luther, and we play it all the time on our stuff. I mean, it didn't start with a big rally when Luther King started marching, you know. They got beaten, blooded. May his soul rest in peace. John Lewis, beat up in the head. Most of the half or more of the speeches that Martin Luther wrote, he wrote them in prisons, in jail. That's where he wrote it. But they didn't give up.
Yeah, and Alvin, just to chime in there a little bit, I don't want to make it sound as if, well, everything is all negative, everything is all, looking downhill as it pertains to that cause for a freer and fairer process. I want to compliment persons in terms of persons who have been standing up. You mentioned Rosie Parks and a group, you have Artie Marty and his group, but of late, I've been. Yes, Munsewie, the CCMs, we at Civic Vibes, the all the different groups collaborating with the political parties, the persons who have been there supporting that cause relentlessly. I know some persons from Salisbury, they're always there. Sometimes I ask myself, but where do these people get that kind of energy? But they are there. They are there toiling. And so it's in that vein. I want to compliment, I want to say kudos to these persons who are relentless. They are resolute. You have some persons, the elderlies, some persons, when they come on these walks and these marches and these protests, and they faint, they get dehydrated. Their legs are giving
Absolutely.
up, but they are still there.
And that's what we have to build on. We have to build on that.
Let me shout out my dear friend in Bath Estate, Mrs. Durant. She's always there. Now, she's, but Mrs. Dura, good evening to you, my friend. Of late, Alvin, we have been seeing some younger persons speaking out, some younger persons prepared to do what they are saying. And so everything is not all doom and gloom.
Absolutely. So and let me say,
there's a call on the line. Let's take that caller. Caller, good evening to you.
Hi, Lofty. It's me again.
Hi.
You know, just listening to Alvin and kind of following up where he, you know, on the point that he's making that and Sister Rosie is also making that, you know, we need to encourage people. We need to continue to encourage people. And oftentimes we see so much negativity that, you know, we feel that our actions have fallen, you know, to the wayside. But you know, I think that there was a genesis. To be honest, the last 2 weeks ago, I think that was the genesis of that type of movement. But because what we saw in the action 2 weeks ago was you know, amalgamation of people from every area of Dominica. There was that coming together of everybody. Then there was the do nothing. As much as people may think that this wasn't an effective gesture or action, it did show quite significant results. We can actually see it in the nonsense we saw yesterday with that whole painting, the backlot. And I refuse to use this man's name because right now I think we have to talk about the people. We have to highlight the people. We have to, I hate to say, but we have to squish Roosevelt under our feet. And that's the only time I'll use him in this conversation. It's time to realize that this man has no power. He gave our power to a foreigner. We want our money back and we want our power back. So that was the genesis was 2 weeks ago. Then we continued. It evolved into the do nothing. The commission is going to grant it. That's another action. Then let's get the people, let's get everybody to support going to the electoral reform to pick it. When they go there, let's go to the commissioners and have them answer our questions, and we continue like that. There are many little things going on in the island, many dissatisfied Dominicans. We need to tap into that also. So, you know, that is how the evolution continues. I mean, if we look at, you know, if we study Dr. King and all the walks and so many different actions, they were not all just stand up and having large meetings. There were many small actions. Small groups took small actions. I heard the lamentation of the truckers union. Everybody saying, "Oh, they're a joke. They're just going to sit down." Well, maybe we need to you know, get in touch with the truckers and give them support too. You know, the people of Wesley, give them support. There's so many issues right now. With the fact that the country has no money, it's a fact. We see it time and again. It's not hearsay. It is evidence. So there are so many ways that we can actually you know, inspire people, and let's strive to do that. Let's strive to inspire people and help them progress with that movement, Lofty.
All right, indeed. Thank you very much, Adi. Point made very succinct indeed. Yes, Alvin.
No, she is so right. Listen, guys, listen. Those of you in Dominica and Lofty can attest to that.
And Rosie, you have about 5 more minutes if
Yeah,
Alvin, so we want to give her
this DLP administration is a weak administration. Okay? It's a weak administration, and we need to recognize that. The caller was so right. They do nothing campaign, what it triggered. We heard from a minister of tourism that spoke a lot of nonsense. It's a weak administration. That Labour Party has not had a convention in the last 10 or more years. So there's no structure, okay? There's no structure, Lofty, and those listening. This prime minister handpicked persons to run in different constituency. They are weak. They have 1 or 2 acolytes that open their mouth and spew nonsense oftentimes again. And that's all there is. And then you have 1 or 2 police officers that are making a fool out of themselves. But I think in time they will come to realize that what they're doing doesn't make sense. So that has to be a people's movement. You hear me? A people's movement. And I am convinced that it is happening. You guys had a meeting in the PSU with this guest speaker from Trinidad. Excellent meeting. Excellent. 2 Sundays ago, you had this meeting in Roseau for the Do Nothing. Excellent gathering. The people are beginning to understand. Calabishi is upset. Truckers are upset. Students are upset. Nurses are upset. PSU. I saw the PSU issued a press release on the 4th of March that spoke about their frustration and what they plan or not. So it's a weak administration. We have to start up and commend, like you did, people like Rosa Parks, and we have to all go out to Granby on the 17th and culminate on the 21st and let this administration understand we, the people, are fed up and we're ready to take this matter into our hands.
All right, Alvin, thank you very much indeed. Rosie, you have like 4 or 5 minutes if us. Let us use those time just for you as you give us your final and closing comments.
Thanks, Lofty. Thanks, Lofty. I want to, as I close, to commend the women who I heard last week when the Do Nothing campaign commenced, and that is evidence of the mindset that is changing. I will agree that there is a shift. There's a shift in the minds of people. But so in addition to encouraging these women, I want to encourage more women, because in times of crisis, disaster, women get the worst end of the stick. But we have a power. We have a power that we need to use. We need to complement the men with that power we have by coming out when the action is called, by changing. We know, we are at the house managers, with the real ministers of home affairs. And my deceased in-law, Paul Joseph, used to say, women know how to share that 1 pound of rice and 1 pound of wings. We know how to share that. We know when the economy is in our favor. We know when it's not. We suffer. We became, it's a good thing. We become very creative when we have little. But when we have more, we also know how to multiply it, how to share it, beginning in our homes. There are many women entrepreneurs. I want to encourage us beyond the for us to be able to have generational wealth, to multiply, to have a better retirement. We have to come on the front line and fight for electoral reform. The police, I'm calling on them too, because again, it may be just a few of them, but the motto of all the police is justice for all. Police, you need to be on the right side of the war, the side to defend the population, not to shoot us down, not to fight us down, police. You need to be on the right side of this war that Roosevelt's Carrot has launched on this nation. Cease fire. Come with Dominica. Let's fight for Ma Dominic, beginning with electoral reform. Thank you, Lofty. Thank you, Alvin. Until we meet again.
You're most welcome, Sister Rosie. Well said.
Indeed.
Thank you too.
Indeed. Rosie, yes, so we said at 7:45.
Yes.
Yes, Rosie will be leaving us. So Rosie, on behalf of the many persons,
All right,
the multitude
all
of
right,
persons
Rosie. Thank you, my dear.
Logged in here and abroad. Thank you very much, Rosie. Do enjoy what is left of the evening.
Night. Yes.
Thank you. Bye-bye. All right, Alvin, so that leaves about 15 minutes for us and the persons on the live feed.
Yeah.
So in just a while, we have to say, oh, bye-bye as well.
Yeah. No, well, I think Sister Rosie summarized it quite nicely in her closing comments. A call to everyone out there that this is a people's movement, that is a fight for Ma Dominica. It's not a fight for fighting for a party or that party. It's a fight for Dominica. I mean, when we talk about elections, even right here in America, there's a lot of conversation going now as it relates to the upcoming elections, presidential election in November. And a lot of folks, some folks saying, oh, they won't vote for Biden. Biden is too old, blah, blah, blah. And, you have those for Trump, those for Biden. And Biden tells you clearly he's in this thing because he sees the democracy. The democracy of America is at stake. And that is why he's there and he's fighting. He's not going to give up. He's fighting. And I think similarly, that is where we are in Dominica. Our democracy is at stake. Our democracy is at stake. I mean, last week, I think
Alvin, let me see if I can interject there. Let's take this
Sure.
caller. This caller is
Sure, go
on.
ahead.
Caller, yes. Good evening to you, Civic Vibes. Caller, yes, you're on. Good evening.
Yeah, lastly, let me ask you. It's just a question I am asking. On the 25th of February in the gathering, how many or which of the union leaders were there?
Were you at the gathering, caller?
Well, Luffy, I could not come because
you
of
could
my
not
family.
come. Okay. Well, I did not see or hear any of the union leaders presented on stage, but as to they being in the crowd or present, I cannot vouch for that.
Oh no, well, not in the crowd. It's their speech. Their speech.
Well, no, I did not hear any one of them.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much.
But
Yes,
let me just say though, to just in a response, let me just say in response to the caller, I get what he's saying. I get where he's going, he's heading, but we must not be sidetracked. There is still an opportunity for us to engage the unions. Whoever is planning and organizing, to engage them. We must not give up on engaging, even if, let's say, they may not have been there and there is still an opportunity to build coalition. This thing doesn't happen at one time. It's over time you build coalition. Over time you build support. Over time you collaborate. And we must not give up by that. I think we're in a better space to collaborate with those various groupings, the unions, the business sector, the church people sector, civic organization. It's an opportunity to collaborate. Lofty, last week I think I made the point that in my estimation as we speak now, Dominica is quickly bordering on what you considered a failed state. You hear me? A failed state. Because a country whose government is considered to have failed at some of its basic responsibility, for example, keeping the legal system working correctly, providing public services, electricity, health, education, agriculture, you name it. This is what the basic function of a government is. And if we just go down a list of areas, the first area has to do with government institutions. Okay? The Electoral Commission is non-functional. Non-functional. There's evidence for that. The Integrity Commission is non-functional. That's a commission that's supposed to see how much assets elected people own and other persons of high positions to avoid corruption. Non-functional. The judicial system is compromised. We heard what the judge said in December as he relates to the magistracy and what's happening in the judicial system. The Public and Police Service Commission is compromised. Nepotism. So many people are not being appointed. People are acting for 10 years, 15 years, and people coming under the guise of NEP or whatever they call it. Okay? The local government system is compromised. Government wants to have a hand in there and have their people in there and all of that. You remember the years when the local government system in Dominica was an example for the rest of the region. The rest of the region used to come to Dominica to understudy the system in days of McDonald Thomas as commissioner, Carrett, Burton. People used to come to learn the system. Sylvester Joseph, to learn the system. The appointment of a parliamentary commission and keeping to the constitution is non-existent. Inadequate electoral reform. On the question of political instability, frequent arrests and charges against opposition persons. We see it. The alleged kidnapping of Mehul Choksi and the involvement of government in that. Denying citizens their right to protest. Unlawful discharge of force on the residents and community of Salisbury. Look, I heard the people of Calabishia are protesting and their police down there with guns and all of that. Okay? Economic collapse. High unemployment and inflation. Pockets of poverty in several communities across the country. You just have to drive around the country and go in the various communities and see the level of poverty that's existing there. People can't make ends meet. Okay? Deteriorating infrastructure. There are bridges that were damaged and roads that were damaged since Hurricane Maria and Erica that has not been repaired. Poor agricultural sector, lack of access of feeder road to their farmers. We have an inadequate banking sector, one bank in Dominica, two for the most. All the banks have gone. Absence of a thriving manufacturing sector. Bello is closed down. DCP is closed down. All the manufacturing sectors that we know no longer exist. A poor and deteriorating health system. An inadequate, compromised education system. The college is still not repaired after hurricane. Several schools are still not in existence. The junior secondary school program that we had back in the 80s is non-existent. A high and poor debt management. A high debt to GDP ratio. We have the highest debt to GDP ratio within the OECS. We owe in more and we're taking more out of our GDP to pay the debt. Poor fiscal management. On the question of security challenges, ineffective law enforcement and political interference, rise in corruption, nepotism, and crime, humanitarian crisis, abuse of human rights, the DPP nulla proceed, all what, a case called nulla proceed, suppressing citizens to right to protest. On the international issues, issuance of Dominican passport to a number of fugitive and criminals. We know the list, it go on and on. A questionable outcome of the CBI program. Questionable diplomats holding diplomatic passport. Visa restriction for Dominicans to travel to the United Kingdom, Canada, French territories, Guadeloupe, now Ireland. So you see the number of areas I've mentioned there. That's a failed state. That's a failed state. Absence of institution, political instability, economic collapse, security challenges, humanitarian crisis, international issues and crisis. That's a failed state. So it's now for the people. The people now must come forward, and it starts with the first step. The first mile starts with the first step. We have to come out there. We have to build on the support and the courage of others. And I think it's a good thing that we're having this meeting in Granby on the 17th. Let's promote it as widely as possible. And let me tell you, Granby has a rich history, Time may not permit us here to do it this evening. But remember Granby. Granby people have been very strong people in terms of their protests and what they stand for, You remember the uprising on the Geneva estate? That took place at Granby, if you recall. Granby people, they don't play, Some people might say, no, well, labor, blah, blah, blah. That may be true. But I think Granby has a rich history of protests going way back. So let's all converge on Granby on the 17th. And from there, let's come to Roseau and be part of our meeting on the 21st. This is our meeting. Our commissioners are meeting to discuss our matter. We want to be part of it. We want to be informed. We want to be heard. And based on what we hear, we'll decide whatever further action we take on the matter. But as far as I say it, we are failed state.
All right, Alvin, thank you very much for itemizing the situation there as it pertains to Dominica on the trajectory of being a failed state. I predicted that, Alvin, in 2014. So 10 years back, I predicted that to a young lady, and that young lady can bear me witness. So there's no new news to me, brother. Let's take some comments from the live feed, Alvin, in the next 5 minutes. We have to bring it down to the wire. Dory Drago says, word, not the same Granby where we made things happen by the hook or by the crook. Dory Drago comes back and says, putting it in simple terms from what I'm observing and Alvin says, is that, yes, Dominica is a failed state. Ferdinand Lawrence, right? That's a lot, meaning what Alvin just alluded to earlier. Brother Serge Resnet, you're watching. Good evening to you. Dorothy Jumin, locked in, late, very late, my friend, but good evening to you in the UK at this time. Anthony Simon says, water system as well, Mr. Alvin. I guess that too is failing in Dominica. Merlin Wade, you're watching as well. Let me see here. Caril Fontaine says, thank you, Rosie, for your splendid contribution tonight. Henrietta James says, thanks, Lofty, for never giving up. Blessings, she said. Marietta Godden, thank Rosie as well for her tremendous contribution tonight. So too is Adelaide Paul. Anthony Simon said, well said, Miss Rosie. Alexandria Thomas says, bravo, Sister Rosie. Indeed. James Cam writes here, it is a miracle Skerrit is still the head of government in Dominica. No other nation would tolerate such character as their leader for so long. The stealing legacy is a major factor but the people have been sleeping on them for too long. He ends by saying, time to rise up. Owen Prosper says this government are cowards and it's Manikou gang that having them standing still. Dave Bertrand says, good Adelaide, we need to give support to the truckers, the people of Wesley, etc. Let us not bash them too much. Brother Julius Cobbett, good evening to you, brother. You are listening as well. Brother Bernard Allen writes here, very long sentiment here, but let me see if I can go for it. The people must learn that representation must not depend on the call of the party, but must instead depend on whether or not the person seeking to represent sent you instead to do just that. Pal reps must represent the interests of the people and by extension, the nation. Secondly, one chosen to represent the people must demand that they are pal reps, do what is required of them. Thirdly, our people must recognize the right to speak out, ask questions, and hold them to account. Fourthly, our people must recognize that they are likely every Dominican are entitled to equal opportunity, protection, benefit, wealth. Roosevelt is not entitled to mansions and big money because he holds the office while you are poor and struggling. Thank you, Brother Bernard, out of the UK at this time for your comment. Jeffrey Brisbane says, Lofty and Alvin, I salute you. 2, the fight must continue. Brother Brisbane, thank you very much as well for you being always here with us each and every Sunday. Jean-Fas Francis says, a country where democracy has been trampled upon is a failed state indeed. Norman Shillingford, you're watching. Good evening to you. And the list goes on and on. Alvin, we are 2 minutes from that time.
You've pretty much covered several areas where the people are saying. I mean, I'm one that, I believe we have to build on what we have. The struggle is not always easy. Building a movement is not always easy. There'll be challenges. There'll be times that you feel, well, man, am I making headway? Is it worth the fight? But, that's part of it. You have to step back sometimes, build courage, and we build on each other.
Sure.
But I'm convinced that given what I'm hearing so far and the pockets of resistance that is coming through, I think Dominicans, I believe, are more than ready. It may not be coming as fast as some of us want it to, given how long we have gotten where we are today. But I think when you look at the overall trend, as I said, there are lots of pockets of resistance, and that is where I think we have to support each other, build each other, and I would urge everybody who's listening in Dominica, and those of us in the diaspora who can provide some support, because like every movement, it requires some resources as well. So you need buses to go to Grand Bay. Those of you who can provide that resource, that support, provide it, so that you can get more people going out to Grand Bay and going out to do their protests. Things like T-shirts. Maybe a group might want to print a few T-shirts saying something on it. So if you can support that, and you could provide 100 T-shirts, some of these things up here.
Support is needed.
Yes,
support is needed.
Yes.
All right, Alvin, it is 8 o'clock on the hour. It's 8 o'clock on the hour. Let's take that all-important break. Play that ad twice from Brother Dale Dangleben and crew entitled Eat for Living. And then we're going to get back to you, Alvin, for your wrapping up and closing comments. And we play that song of Cheku, and we will be out.
Certainly.
All right, brother Dale Dangleben, thank you very much, my brother, for sponsoring us in your way. That Eat for Living. Just download that app, persons. Yes, that is an app you can download, and you can get all the information there that brother Dale Dangleben and his crew is helping you guys how to stay a bit longer in terms of your eating habits. Sometime we will have brother Dale Dangleben here to go much more in detail as to that app and how it is or can be beneficial to you guys. Let's play that number from brother Checo. But before we do that, Alvin, your closing comments, my brother.
Yeah, well, Lofty, all I will say at this stage is again to thank Sister Rosie for coming on board with us in the program this afternoon. I think she did justice to the program, covered quite a number of areas. I also want to thank her for the work that she's doing on the ground, which she and the rest of the women in the Rosa Parks group. And by extension, I want to say to all the patriots and the brave souls out there, yourself, Lofty, and your group, Civic Vibes, NJAM, ERC, Munsewie, the truckers, the Calabishi people, the union, everybody. It's a cry that is across the country. I just want to say to you guys to continue the fight. It's a just fight you're doing. You're not just fighting for yourself, but you're fighting for your country and generations to come. Persons, that will be long after we have gone. And don't be discouraged. There's always the naysayers that will come. If not our life, you see some of them, they're making some comments that, it is what it is. That's you're going to expect that. But I think there is enough positives to go around. And I think what we need to do is to build on that. I think that is the approach we have to take moving forward. Let's build on the positive. Let's stop all this negative, this, blah, blah, and let's move forward and let's support those who are on the front line, like the Sister Rosie, the Lofty, the Boston, Lennox, and Munsewie, and all these guys who are out there. I mean, just on the Munsewie, I understand this brother Buju. Buju went to the office of the Auditor General, and which he has a right to do, and say he would like to meet with her and have a meeting with her. He has a right. She's a servant of the public. She serves the public. Or she do, well, yes, I can meet with you so, or what time or so. But in making that request, he was confronted by a so-called supporter of the Labour Party. Long story short, he made a report. After he went to his home, they come and they picked him up. The police picked him up. And they picked him up for what? Saying that the Auditor General claimed that she was fearful for her life. So they picked him up now to question him. Hold him in the jail or wherever, in the cell for whatever. Release him the next day, no charge. I mean, who does that? So power out to Buju and the Munsewie. Do what you're doing for Dominican. Fight the fight. And that is what's going to happen. Some of us are going to end up in the jail. Some of us are going to be arrested. That is part of it. That is part of it. I'm telling you, it happened in the 70s. You had a leader of a trade union that was being moved from place to place during the 70s, so as to not know where he is to pick him up. So that is part of the game. So get used to it. But I'm convinced that there's enough of us around to support the cause and bring the change that is needed in Dominica.
We need our electoral reform. Tell Simba, call the cabinet. Our money can just go to waste like that. Dominicans spend their money. You should perform your duty. How long before we get our reform? We have some elections in the interest of one man, but like Egypt, the people need freedom. If you cannot deliver, then give us back our dollars, sir. Stay in your lane. We know you know our country, love to spend the money, sir. Stay in your lane. The people frustrated and tired. Dominicans have taken all they can take. Give us reform before the fall house break. The people know of Full was Brigade. May 29 and blood that was shed. So if you don't deliver for what we pay, guy Full was
All right, Dominica, it was indeed a pleasure with you guys this evening. Let me see, first and foremost, Alvin said it already, but just to reiterate that point. Sister Rosie Felix, thank you very much for your time, your contribution and valuable contribution this evening. Thank you very, very much indeed. The Civic Vibes crew, making it possible each and every Sunday for always the splendid programs packed, loaded with information. Thank you very much. The man Alvin Thomas, always there, always ready, always willing. A soldier, I call him in the vineyard. The listeners, the viewers in and out of Dominica, thank you very much each and every time for your eyes and ears. We're going to just have at least one more verse of Brother Checo's song. Once that song is done, then we will be out. See you next week, same time, same place.
before we get our reform. If we vote without protest ID, we could vote for a dead family. And before ballot done count, landslide victory. The election legacy concerns everybody, sir. Stay in your lane. We hear you write a report to Annie Valdez boy. Stay in your lane. The people frustrated and tired. Dominicans have taken all they can take. Give us reform before reform we take. The people know of Full was Brigade. May 29 and blood that was shed. So if you don't deliver for what we pay, I Full was it. Whoa, nana, whoa. Stop you swagging your magic, you can fool everybody, sir. Stay in your lane. We need re-registration for free and fair elections, sir. Stay in your lane. The people reject your reports by run. Dominicans know the difference between right and wrong. Give us reform before next election. The people ready to take a stand to make this country a democratic one. Dominicans want the reform for what they pay. Sky Full
Electoral reform is essential, fundamental, absolutely necessary, the basis for democracy.
If you cannot deliver, then give us back our dollars, sir. Stay in your lane. We know you know our country, love to spend the money, sir. Stay in your lane. The people frustrated and tired. Dominicans have taken all they can take. Give us reform before the fall house break. The people know of Full was Brigade. May 29 and blood that was shed. So if you don't deliver for what we pay,